Hey guys, it's Becca. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some tips for taking a baby to Disney World, and a lot of these tips could also apply for maybe a younger toddler as well. But our most recent trip in December of 2020, we took our 10-month-old baby girl and we had an amazing time, but we definitely learned a lot along the way. So I hope these tips are helpful, but make sure that you are subscribed if you're not already, because I do have some trip vlogs coming out soon. So be on the lookout for those, but let's go ahead and dive in. My first and most important tip is do not stress about schedules and routines. You are going to enjoy your time so much more if you let go of your normal everyday schedule that you have at home. Know that once you get home, you can jump right back into it, but you're on vacation. So don't feel like, oh my goodness, it's 10 a.m., it's time for her first nap. Why is she not napping? We gotta go back to the resort. We gotta just let it be. If she's able or he is able to nap on you, get a baby carrier, stroll around, let him fall asleep in the stroller, or maybe it does work best for you to go back to the hotel for a nap. But I wouldn't really structure your day too much around that schedule. And if things are just 30 minutes off or an hour off, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not gonna completely ruin your schedule forever. If bedtime is at 7, but on vacation you don't get back to the hotel until 8, it's okay. Again, you're on vacation, you're at Disney World, and you're gonna enjoy your time so much more. So I know for us, we kept a very loose schedule. So we were doing 2 naps a day at 10 months old. You know, she would wake up at her normal time, 7 a.m. We'd be out the door by around 8:30-ish by the time we all got ready and breakfast and all the things. We'd go to the park, and around 10:30, 11, she was so exhausted from a full morning. She napped about 45 minutes in the stroller. That was not her normal nap time, but I was just happy she was getting a nap in. We would do lunch, and then a few more hours would go by, and around 2:30, 3 o'clock, she would take another 30-minute to an hour nap in the stroller. We would just walk around. I was fully prepared to have to completely leave the park if we needed to and head back, but she surprised me and she did great. Was it our normal schedule that we have at home? No, but she did amazing. And when she got tired, she would just kind of doze off for a little bit, and then she'd wake up and she was totally fine. We got home from our vacation. She went right back into our normal schedule. Just let go. Relax, it's vacation. My next tip is to take advantage of the baby care centers. These are here to serve you. They are going to be your best friend. There is one in every park, and it's normally near the front-ish of the park, normally near the first aid center, so that's kind of where you'll be able to find them. They are air-conditioned, they're cool, they're shaded, and it's a quiet place to get away. There are private rooms if you are a breastfeeding mama or you just want a quiet place to feed your baby a bottle. There's, a ton of space for diaper changes. They have these huge diaper changing stations that actually get cleaned in between each baby. So there's a piece of paper that's laid down, and then once you're done, you have so much room to just sprawl out all of your things. And once you're done, you rip that piece of paper off, and then a cast member is right behind you to clean that area, sanitize it, and then it's ready for the next person. And it was never crowded. That was one thing. There was never a line for the changing station. We were always either the only one in there, or there was maybe one other family, but that was pretty much it. And there's also a little convenience store in each baby care center. So there was one day where I was 1 diaper short, and 1 diaper is not worth leaving the park for. So we were able to go to the baby care center, and I bought a little, I think it was a little 2-pack or a 3-pack. You are gonna pay a little bit more for those diapers, but it was worth not having to leave the park just for 1 diaper. So things like that. There's extra outfits in case your baby makes a mess. There's formula, there's bottles, there's passies, there's, everything you can think of, baby food and snacks and literally everything. So if there is something that you forget, don't feel like you have to trek all the way out of the park to go get it back at your resort or wherever. You can go to the baby care center and pick up whatever you need. Another reason that we loved the baby care center was at the time I had just transitioned Ellie to formula bottles, and so we had all of her formula pre-bagged out for the day, and we needed hot water, which most places would direct you to the baby care center to get hot water, so that wasn't necessarily something we could get just anywhere. But it ended up working out great because, again, we were able to have a quiet place. We could get the hot water we needed, mix up her bottle, and there were rocking chairs, and again, it was quiet. It was, you know, it was just so relaxing. The cast members in there were some of my favorite to interact with. They were so amazing, so accommodating, and I just can't speak highly enough of the baby care centers. My next tip is to adjust your expectations. Andy and I have done Disney, just the two of us, countless times. And we have our little routine, you know, we know where to go, what to do, what our favorite things are. We have a pace that works for us. We do dining reservations, we do fast passes, and you know, of course, all of that looks different now, but at the time, that was the pace we were going at. We'd stay out till, you know, 9, 10 o'clock, and then we'd go, you know, walk around somewhere, and, you know, so we definitely had our way of doing Disney. Well, with a baby, that obviously looks very different, but I knew that going into it. I had no expectations that we would even ride any rides. So if you get to ride 1 or 2 rides all day and you're used to riding 10 rides a day, that's okay. So just know that your day is going to look very different. You're gonna move at a much slower pace. You're gonna make a lot of trips to the baby care center, a lot of diaper changes, a lot of snacks. It's gonna be moving a lot slower. So just know that if you are used to making a couple loops around Magic Kingdom, know that that probably won't happen this trip. Our Magic Kingdom day, this past trip, looked so different. We went in the park and we got Starbucks, we took our time, we got some pictures, we saw the characters, there's a little cavalcade, you know. So I mean, we're well into an hour into our morning and we haven't even made it back to Fantasyland yet. And then by the time we get back there, we do the Little Mermaid ride. And at that point, by the time we got off of that ride and Ellie back in her stroller, she was done and she was ready for a nap. So then we walk around for an hour while she naps, and we can get, that's a great time to grab lunch or grab some coffee, grab an ice cream bar, and then you're just enjoying the park. And then she wakes up and then you do a diaper change and a bottle and, you know, all the things, and now it's after lunch. And so now you're looking at, okay, it's already 1 o'clock and we've only done 1 ride. When you think about it that way, again, the day just moves slower, but it's a really sweet way to enjoy Magic Kingdom, or really any park, in a new light, in a new way that maybe you haven't taken the time to do before. So that was one reason that we really enjoyed this past trip. We were just able to enjoy the parks at a much slower pace without feeling like we had to ride all the rides and do all the things. We were just there. And we did get to do a couple of things, but it was more about just enjoying our time there and seeing the characters and the little cavalcade. So just enjoy the atmosphere. My next tip is to plan meal times for around the same time that your baby is normally used to meal times at home. So for us, Ellie is used to lunch at noon. Noon on the dot, she is ready for lunch. And I tried to make any dining reservations for that time. So maybe that wasn't the time that we would have picked for lunch on past trips. We either try to do lunch in less crowded or less popular lunch times, either way earlier or do like a 2 o'clock lunch. But I knew that that was gonna work well for her. So we made all of our reservations, lunch reservations for noon, and then she's used to a 5:30 dinner. Again, that's not the time that we would normally do dinner. Dinner for us on past trips would be between 7 and 8 o'clock. Well, with Ellie, she's used to that 5:30, 6 o'clock at the latest dinner time. So that's when we did all of our dining reservations. So try to keep meals consistent with what your baby's used to. It's really gonna set them up well, and it's a way to maintain that loose schedule that I talked about, to where they're able to know what to expect still. They're gonna naturally get hungry at that time. So you can still give them that same consistency of this is when mealtime is, and we're gonna try to keep that the same. Now, I did put up on my Instagram story a question box if anybody had any questions about taking a baby to Disney World. Like, what do you guys want to know? So I did have a few responses over there. Make sure that if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and hop over there. I share all of my Disney content and our daily stories over there as well. So if you want to follow along on our Disney trips, that's where you can go follow me. And then day to day, I share a lot of our just normal everyday stuff. So a lot of fitness content, a lot of mom content, things like that. So you'll see me a ton on Instagram. So make sure you're following me over there. But when it comes to questions that a few of you guys had, one question was, let me pull it up. Okay. The first question was, how do you breastfeed in the parks? Now, I will say that I actually stopped breastfeeding Ellie at 8 months old. So by 10 months, she was fully on formula. I don't personally have any experience breastfeeding in the parks, but I can imagine if I had been still breastfeeding, it wouldn't have been as complicated as I think maybe you would think it would be. So again, I know I shared a lot about the baby care centers. Definitely utilize those. There's those private nursing rooms. I believe one of the parks has more of just one open space for any nursing mama to go in. And then a couple of the others have more private areas, more like small spaces with rocking chairs and things like that. So depending on which park you're in, it'll vary. But take advantage of those baby care centers. That's going to be a great place to cool off and have some, a quiet, more private space. Or if you're more comfortable breastfeeding in public, some places that I would recommend is Carousel of Progress. That's a good 20-minute show where you could sit in the back and breastfeed through that show. Hall of Presidents, is that even open right now? I'm not sure. Some of the other things in Magic Kingdom that would be a little easier to breastfeed on, maybe Pirates of the Caribbean. It's nice and dark and cool in there. So things like that, different rides that are longer than a couple minutes long, where you could get a good 10 or 15 minutes. Pirates of the Caribbean is a longer ride, so you could definitely get a good amount of nursing done through one of those rides, and especially those shows like Carousel of Progress is a great one. That is what I would recommend for breastfeeding in the parks. Take advantage of those baby care centers because they're going to be a lifesaver. The next question was actually about the baby care centers. Did you find the need to use them? And yes, I definitely found them useful. If you haven't really heard me say it yet, I definitely found them useful. I think people assume that it's just maybe an open space with a changing table and a rocking chair, but it is so valuable to have that space, to have those private areas to feed your baby, to have a larger space that's not in a crowded, hot restroom with those tiny little spaces where you barely have enough room to put, depending on how big your baby is. But if you have a 14-month-old like me, the thought of putting my 14-month-old up on one of those open changing tables with our diaper bag, it would just be so cramped up there, and she's squirming and rolling around, and I'm trying to wipe things down. And so at the baby care centers, you just feel relaxed. I don't know. You just feel like this is right. This is how it's supposed to be. You have all the space. It's air conditioned. No one's, passing by, behind you, anything like that. And people are cleaning for you, so you're not having to worry about like wiping every square inch down before you get there. When you walk up to that changing table, it is going to be spotless. So that is one thing that I love. And again, having that little convenience store with all baby items is so valuable. It's 100% worth it. The next question was about stroller parking, and I'm assuming this means stroller parking for rides, like getting on and off rides. Where do you park your strollers? What is that process like? The first thing I'll share about the stroller though is I recommend having a stroller that is lightweight, something a little more compact that you can tear down and pop up one-handed. I've seen so many, giant jogging strollers. They're just a little more challenging to maneuver through small spaces. So, they definitely have more storage. So there's pros and cons to it, but I personally loved having something a little more compact. I could kind of zip in and out through the crowds and not feel like I was in anybody's way or anything like that. I'll link the stroller that I have below. It's the Kiko Lightweight stroller, and I love it. And it reclines all the way back, so when she falls asleep for nap time, I can just recline it back and she's passed out. It's fully shaded. it's amazing. So when it comes to parking your stroller for rides and most table service restaurants, you do have to take your baby out of the stroller, and there's designated parking areas for your strollers, and cast members do a great job of directing this space. Depending again on which park you're at and what ride you're gonna get on, it'll just depend on what that looks like, but cast members are so great. They're gonna direct you. You won't be confused at all. Most times we came out and our stroller was moved. So don't be offended if your stroller was moved. The cast members are just trying to consolidate. When people come back and pick up their strollers, there's these, empty gaps, and they're just trying to scoot everything in to make room for more strollers. So there were multiple times where we came out in a panic thinking, where's our stroller? Where's our stroller? Someone took it. And it was just moved by a cast member just one row over. So don't be offended by that. Just know that they're doing their job and they're making room for more strollers. And I think that's it. That was the last question. So if you guys can think of anything else you want to know about taking a baby to Disney World, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to keep chatting with you and again, answer any questions you have, but I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.